Hello and welcome to part 2 of lesson number 10 in Unit 2B, Quadratic Functions, Forms and Transformations in our grade 11 University College math class. This is how to graph a quadratic function given any form. So we spent the first part of this lesson going over the details of vertex form, factored form, and standard form and how to graph them. Sort of a little summary of how to do it. This page is really valuable when you're reviewing for the assessment in this unit. It gives you kind of everything you really need to know here. As I said, the remainder of the lesson is just us doing some graphs. So the first one that we graphed in part 1 was a factored form, and I knew this was factored because it is has brackets but they're not squared. We then went about graphing it. Let's jump ahead to the next example. So this is f at x equals, what did I do this one in green? Okay, let's use blue over here. So here we have f at x equals 3 bracket x plus 2 all squared minus 4. So what form of the quadratic is this? Well, we can see that we have brackets squared, and that is what's going to tell us that this is vertex form. Brackets squared. So we have brackets, that's factored form, and then brackets squared, that's going to be vertex form. So what do we do from here? Well, we just start graphing it here. What's nice about vertex form is it gives us our vertex. Remember that the h value of the vertex is the opposite of how it appears. Looks like a plus 2 is a minus 2. There's our minus 4. So let's start by putting that on the graph. Minus 2, minus 4. There we have it. I'm going to hold off on labeling that point right now, but what I will do at this point is sketch in my axis of symmetry. All the way top to bottom with a dotted line. That's how we designate our axis of symmetry. I like to label it at the bottom, but it doesn't really matter. X equals -2. So that is how you properly label the equation of the axis of symmetry. Now from here, we just have to figure out our plot pattern. So our plot pattern, I guess we'll do it over here. Plot pattern is going to be 149 as always, and we're going to be amplifying that by our a value. Now our a value this time is 3, so everything's going to be moving up or down 3 times as fast. So instead of going out 1, up 1, we go out 1, up 1 times 3. So that gives us 3, out 2, up 12, out 3, up 27. Now that one's never going to fit on the graph, but there you go. Still did it. So our direction of opening is going to be up because we have here a positive 3 as our a value. So let's start putting some points on here. So from our vertex, we go out 1 and up 1, 2, 3. We go out 2 and up 12, I think it was. So that was 3. There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I think takes us to here. And there's its complementary point. The next one's not going to fit on there. So from here, I'm going to just sketch it through, trying to make it look as curvy as possible, given that, as I said, it is a vertical expansion. That kind of makes it a little bit harder to do. There we go. We've got our arrows on there. So now we're going to label some points. The vertex, of course, always has to be labeled. That's -2, -4. Now we don't have any x-intercepts this time that go through integers, so we're going to just leave that one off, but we will do our y-intercept, which goes through an integer. That's going to be 6, 7, 8, so 0, 8, and then one other point. So I'll just do the one that's across from it. That's going to be -4 and 8. But any of them will work, it doesn't really matter. And now we're going to label our equation. So that was f at x equals 3 bracket x plus 2 all squared minus 4, I think. Yep, looks great. So there you go. This is a good looking graph. We've got our vertex labeled, 2 other points labeled. One of them, if it's an intercept going through an integer, has to be labeled. In this case, our y-intercept, label the equation, axis of symmetry, vertex. There you go. That's a 12 out of 12. It's a beautiful graph. Okay, grand finale. We're going to go off to maybe the most difficult one to graph, or maybe the most difficult form to graph, and this is going to be standard form. How do I know that this is standard form? There are no brackets, so I'm going to write that down too. No brackets. So with no brackets, you know that it is in standard form. What does standard form tell us? Well, it tells us that the y-intercept is going to be 0, 3, so whatever our c value happens to be. So 0, 3, 1, 2, 3, not very helpful. We don't know where anything else is sort of happening right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the cheat. Now we could complete the square, no problem here. I'm going to show you the cheat anyway. So the cheat is to find the h value, it's negative b over 2a. So our b value is negative 4, so that's going to be minus 4 over 2a, and the a value was 1. Sorry, I'm working horizontally here, which really isn't good form, but just to save ourselves a little space around the perimeter of the graph here, that gives us 4 over 2, which gives us a 2. So 2 is the x component of our vertex, and I'm going to sub that in. I'm going to find out what f at 2 is to get the y component of the vertex. So that'll be 2 squared minus 4 times 2 plus 3. Let's work it out. 2 squared is 4 minus 8 plus 3. So 4 minus 8 is minus 4 plus 1, or so plus 3 is minus 1. So our vertex then is going to be 2 minus 1. Last thing we want to tackle here is our plot pattern. So our plot pattern is going to be 149 amplified by our a value. Our a value is a positive 1, which tells us first that our parabola opens up and that our plot pattern is neither expanded nor compressed. It's just at face value. That's 149. So let's start to graph here. Our vertex, as I said, was 2, negative 1, I think. Yep, 2, negative 1. So that is right here. There's 2, negative 1. Let's dot in our axis of symmetry all the way top. Whoop, making a mess here. There we go. All the way top to bottom. Got it happening. And labeled. Again, I like it at the bottom. Doesn't really matter. X equals 2. And now we are going to make our graph. So we're following the 149 plot pattern. So from our vertex, out 1, up 1. Out 2, up 4. Out 3, up 9. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And its complement over here. There we go. Let's put some lines through it. Again, trying to keep it as curvy as possible. Oops, darn it. Come on. It's not my best work, but we'll just do it. We'll leave it. All right, there we got our arrows on the end, and now we're going to label our points. So we always start by labeling the vertex being 2, negative 1. This time we actually have 4 points to label in that we have our 3, 0, and 1, 0 here to label for our x-intercepts. We also have a y-intercept showing up at 0, 3. So we've labeled 4 points this time. Important when all of our x-intercepts and our y-intercepts need to be labeled. We can't leave those unlabeled. And now we are going to label our equation. So f at x equals x squared minus 4x plus 3. Okie doke. So we have it all labeled. We've got our axis of symmetry. We have our vertex and at least 2 other points. In this case, 3 other points labeled. We have our equation labeled. That's going to be a 12 out of 12. So the remainder of the lesson portion here is 3 more graphs on this page. Normally in class what I would do is I would say start to work on the next one. Once you've got it graphed or once a certain amount of time has gone by, I'll put up the next graph so you guys can see it. There's f at x equals negative 1/2 x minus 5 all squared plus 1. It's there for you. So we have those 3. Now I've labeled more points on these graphs here, as you can see, more points than are necessary. It's just because I don't know which points you're going to label. So I kind of labeled all the ones that fit on the graph or were obvious. Then your homework is the 12 graphs on the next page. Now here they are blank. At the bottom of your skeleton note, all of these graphs have been filled in, so you can reference that. You can also, if you wanted, use Desmos to type in the equation that you see, and then you can graph that. Or so you can compare your graph to that to know if you're correct. Of course, the answers, as I said, are at the bottom of the skeleton note, so you can just do that too. So this is a very important lesson. It kind of sums up all the graphing that we've done. You're using many of the tools that we've gone over in this unit on how to take one of the 3 forms of the quadratic and get a good graph out of it. So that is the end of the lesson number 10. Good luck with the homework. Any questions, reach out via email, in person, the in-class video chat that we have going every day. Get a hold of me if you have any questions. Otherwise, good luck with the homework, and we'll see you in lesson number 11.